Dr. M3 here, guys, with the long overdue review of my Aventador. Specifically, this is called a nickname, the Avenger, and it is the Lamborghini Aventador LP720-4 Anniversario Roadster. That is probably the longest name of a car in Lamborghini's history. So in this review, I want to take you through really all the features, or as many of the features as a car as possible, to give you a real comprehensive view of what it's like owning this car and a lot of the features, how the car operates. So this is going to be a comprehensive review of this amazing vehicle. It is finished in this amazing and truly unmistakable color called Verde Ithaca, which is a pearlescent paint. It's triple coats, and really depending on the light, it changes, it shifts from orange to green to yellow, maybe a little purple. It's really interesting color. The Aventador is the latest in the line of V12 Lamborghinis, starting with the quintessential Countach, actually starting with the 350 GT, which was their first car. But if you look at the V12, modern V12 cars, the Countach, the Diablo, the Murcielago, and now the Aventador, all named after Spanish fighting bulls, this car represented a radical change for Lamborghini. Not only is this their first new engine in over 30 years, the construction of the car is a massive departure from the Lamborghinis of the past. This car has lots of carbon fiber, including the monocoque. It is their first car with a full carbon fiber monocoque. So we're going to talk a lot more about the construction of the car in just a minute. As I said, the engine is a brand new engine. First engine in 30 years, producing 720 horsepower. So it has this massive 720 brake horsepower up from the original 500 that was in the earlier cars. And certainly significantly more horsepower than the V10 motors in the Gallardo and now the Huracan. This car represents a radical change for Lamborghini in that it was essentially a leap of at least 2 generations of cars, and you'll see that in this review why that is in fact the case. I'm going to show you why this is one of my favorite cars and one of the favorite cars I've ever driven, the Avenger, as it's affectionately called. So there's some amazing and striking features to this new front bumper and splitter on the Anniversario. You can see it has a little bit of a chin strap, and there's airflow here. My hand goes through it. You can see the badge that says LP720-4. Those are some of the distinguishing features of the splitter and bumper for the Anniversario Roadster. So compared to the LP700, the Anniversario, that's the LP720, has a more aggressive rear end. You can see the multi-level of the bumper itself and rear diffuser, a lot more aggressive. And so some of the things that we did to customize this car are these pinstripes. So you see a lot more of the dimensions of the rear of the car. And again, when you're driving either in front or behind this car, you literally see the car as if it literally is coming out of the asphalt itself. It's just an amazing look and view. So you'll notice that there are lots of carbon fiber options in this car. And you already saw the carbon fiber options on the exterior of the car. But the interior of the car also has carbon fiber options that surround the multimedia display, around the center console. You'll also see that there are carbon fiber options on the door panel itself, as well as the door sill. Also included with these carbon fiber interior options are the large carbon fiber rear seat panels in the back, and you can see very small weaves, high grade, and it's on both seats in the car. You'll also notice that we've selected a bicolore option for the seats, where we have a verde ithaca, Alcantara, center insert with the Nero, the black leather interior, also with contrast stitching. This car is also optioned with the Lamborghini branding package, which includes a branding logo on the dashboard as well as on the headrests of the car. That constitutes the branding package. This car is also optioned with the option enhanced Lamborghini radio system, stereo system. It's called Lamborghini Sensorium. And of course, that's great, but when you're in a car like this that has a glorious V12 symphony behind you, you really don't need a stereo system. But nonetheless, this car is optioned for it. It's a wonderful system. It sounds great, and but to me, not as great as the V12 behind you. The car is also optioned with the upgraded Dion gloss black wheels, 20 in the front, 21 in the rear in a staggered fashion. They also have standard carbon ceramic brakes with 6-piston Brembo base calipers in the front and the rear. On the rear wheels, there's an extra caliper here that you can see. This caliper is for the emergency brake, as opposed to the primary caliper, which is for braking as well. So each of the tires have been filled with nitrogen to ensure a consistent pressure. Nitrogen, as you know, is not as subject to heating or cooling, and so you can maintain a constant tire pressure, whether you're driving, whether it's just when you start up, or in hot and cold weather. So that's why we've optioned nitrogen in the car. On the calipers, this was silver, and so we had them scripted in verde ithaca to offset. You'll see some cars have the calipers painted verde ithaca as aftermarket. We thought that was a little too much. We think the script in verde ithaca is a better look. Also on this car are these two buttons that you'll see on the driver's side door. The one on top can deactivate the alarm system even when the car is closed, and on the bottom is a tilt sensor, so you can press to deactivate it. However, you will really do want it always on, just in case somebody decides to flatbed your truck. The alarm system will go off if it senses there's a change in the tilt of the car as it's being loaded on to a truck or being towed of any kind. So both of those are to disarm those systems. So hexagons are absolutely inspired in this car. And so you'll see all over this car the hexagonal theme. And why is that? Interestingly enough, Lamborghini himself was inspired by the honeycomb pattern. If you look at honeycombs, they're actually six-sided. Carbon happens to also be a six-sided ring, as in carbon fiber strength. And so if you take a look at the headlights, you'll see a six-sided approach. If you take a look at the honeycomb intakes, also six-sided. If you actually look closely, this here has a six-sided area. You take a look at the rear view mirrors. Again, six-sided themes, okay? If you take a look at the radio, again, elements, the speaker system, and even the door handles, you get a sense six-sided. Take a look at the steering wheel, six-sided. If you look at the intakes on the door, you just have to look and imagine this, also six-sided. If you take a look at the engine bay covers, and if you look at the glass itself, you'll see it's also six-sided. And if you look at the honeycomb on the rear, even the taillights themselves have a six-sided pattern. You look at the large intakes, or in the diffuser, also six-sided. The exhaust itself is six-sided. If you take a look at even each of these side intakes, again, you have a six-sided approach. So the concept of a honeycomb-based pattern, a hexagonal approach, is six-sided. The gas cap, also six-sided. There you have it. So hexagonal, honeycomb pattern, six-sided carbon fiber. It's literally woven throughout this entire car. So what makes this car so special? Well, they made 100 anniversary Roadsters and 100 anniversary coupes worldwide. There are 24 Roadsters that came to the United States and about 28 coupes. This is number 36 of 100. Again, as you can see here with the emblem that says 50th Series Speciale, 36 out of 100. So since we're talking about carbon fiber, let me show you some of the other options on the car. In the engine bay compartment, which you access through pulling this lever forward, you can see it pops out. You can see the carbon fiber full engine bay option. There are actually two options that are in the car. The first is what's called the plenum or the T-bar in carbon fiber, and the rest is the entire engine bay. And of course we chose this option. An option that has since been available and was not available on the Anniversario is the carbon fiber braces for the car, and that's something we'll probably do in the future as well. So since we're talking about the engine bay, let's talk about the power plant of this car. This is a 6.5 liter V12 engine producing 720 brake horsepower and 507 foot-pound of torque. It is a massive monster. So this is a common question we get. What is that below the V12 on the engine bay? That is actually the firing order of the cylinders. It's 1, 12, 4, 9, 2, 11, 6, 7, 3, 10, 5, and 8. So if you ever see that, every car has that firing pattern. The Aventador is slightly different from the Gallardo, that's different from the Murcielago, that's different from Diablo. Take a look, so that's what those numbers mean. If you look closely at this engine bay, you'll notice that the springs are inboard. And why is that? That is actually the pushrod suspension of the Aventador. The Aventador is one of the first production cars, in fact, to utilize the pushrod suspension, which is typically what you see in Formula One cars. This allows the car to stay absolutely level, even going around very tight bends. And you actually feel the performance differences from this inboard suspension. An amazing addition to this car. So why might you ask that all these Lamborghinis have the engine offset? Is it a manufacturing defect? Is this something that's just been there for years? No. In fact, for engines that are LP or longitudinally posteri, so in the back and longitudinal in the car, it's designed, it's offset a little bit to allow the drive shaft. In fact, it balances the drive shaft, and that's the reason why it's slightly off-center. And you'll notice that in every Lamborghini that's mid-engine like this, that the engine and the X-brace aren't in fact in the center. The engine is always a little off to the left. A few other things you'll notice in the engine bay is the oil cap. And so it actually still has a traditional dipstick and power steering fluid, which is right there. There are some auxiliary ports to use the trickle charger for the car. That's here as well. The ports are here, and that's supplied by Lamborghini. And of course, as I said earlier, this is the heart of the beast. As you know, Valentino for a long time was the chief test driver for Lamborghini, having driven more than 80% of all cars ever made for the company. He signed and autographed this Avenger, this Aventador, and he says, very special for a very special friend, Valentino Automobili Lamborghini. This car is signed both in the rear and in the boot up front as well. Very special car, and I'm very thankful for Valentino for autographing the car for me. So next I'm going to show you how to store the roof of the Aventador in the bonnet of the car. First we're going to open the door using this handle, and then there is a lever to the bonnet, to the boot, located right here. We're going to pull that. It's going to open the boot, walk around to the front, and there is another handle here, a release, to open the bonnet of the Aventador. So the next thing you'll notice inside the boot is this pouch. It's actually the mobility pouch. And in the mobility pouch, I'll just show you a few of the items, are a silky white Lamborghini gloves that have never been used. This is the tire inflation module and a tow hook. I won't take it out fully, but the tow hook which inserts on the right side intake in the front of the car. So that's what's in this pouch. And hopefully we'll never need to use this pouch. Okay? Alright, so now that I've shown you the contents inside the boot of the Aventador, I'm going to show you how to remove the roof and store it. Now, the beauty of this new design is it takes only one person, and frankly 90 seconds. I can do it in about 90 seconds to store the roof. This is a dramatic improvement over the Murcielago, which required two individuals, probably a PhD degree, and at least an hour to install the roof on that car. And that was a soft top. You'll see in a moment that the roof is a carbon fiber composite that is really lightweight. They weigh somewhere around 11 pounds each. And in fact, they improve and work nicely with the structural rigidity of the carbon fiber tub of the car. So it in fact is very useful. It's functional as well as aesthetically useful as well. So we're going to go ahead and remove the roof of the car. So removing the roof is pretty simple and straightforward, but can be confusing because there are two pieces that need to be removed in a specific sequence. I use the gentleman's rule, and what that involves is, and what it means is, you'll remove the driver's side first, install it, and then you deinstall the passenger side. So the driver has to get out and remove the driver's side and then the passenger side. If the roof is stored in the bonnet, it's the opposite rule, where the passenger side will be installed. In fact, it's going to be removed first from the bonnet, installed, and then the driver's side will be installed. Fairly straightforward. If you remember the gentleman's rule, you'll always remember how to install and deinstall the roof of the Roadster. So to prepare the removal of the roof, you press a button behind the seat, you pull it forward, then there are two buttons to unlatch the roof of the Roadster. You pull them forward and it's unlatched. So next, you, using both hands, lift the roof, remove it, and again what you will see are the numbers. Remember I told you they were color-coded yellow, and the pins. So we're going to go ahead and install the roof in, or store the roof in the bonnet. So moving forward, the numbers match up. So again, we're going to insert the roof. The latches go there. Firm push forward, snaps into place. So to prepare for the passenger roof, we need to install these guides and protective rails for the passenger portion of the roof. So using a similar technique to the driver's side, we're going to move the seat forward, unlatch the roof, you pick it up, take it around. Similar technique, using the guide rails that are involved in the car in the bonnet here, you position the device, push forward, it's now fully secured in place. The one thing you'll notice, however, is there's not much bonnet space that's left. So if you have a overnight bag, maybe a soft duffel bag, that's it. Not a lot of space. We close the bonnet, and you're done, you're ready to go. First things you notice when you sit in the driver's seat of the Aventador is how surrounded you are, really like a cockpit, which is exactly what they were going for with this design. You have this large center console that controls a multifunction system, including your multimedia interface, your navigation system, HVAC. We're going to walk through this control set in just a moment, but you really feel like you are in a fighter jet, and that's exactly the motif, the theme that Lamborghini was going for in the design of this car. So closing the doors of the Aventador is relatively easy. Reach up, pull the door towards you, very firm thump, it is fully closed. Reversing the process is relatively simple as well. You have a jet fighter inspired handle, push down, pull up like an ejector seat, the door pops up, and using the struts it opens. Let's start with the center console here. Center console has a lot of information, and let me show you piece by piece what's going on. You have the windows on both sides. This car has a front lift system, which is indicated here, and we'll show you how that action works. When you're going over speed bumps, bumpy roads, that's a great button to have, and I think every supercar should have a front, perhaps a front and rear lift system, but everyone should have a lift system. These cars just are too low to the ground not to have them. You have your electronic stability control. Here is the next one, and after that is our hazard control. Interestingly enough, started in 2013, all Lamborghinis now have an on-off switch for cylinder deactivation. So I can have this car run as a V6, only in Strada mode, however. You have essentially a start-stop system. On the other hand, this is a Lamborghini. I never drive in Strada, and I certainly always deactivate the start-stop system. It just doesn't work for me. Next panel down from the windows and lift system is the HVAC, your air conditioning. I'm going to turn the car on so you can actually see this in action. So to turn the car on without stepping on the brake, push the start-stop button, and you'll see the system come alive. So there is the navigation system. We'll get to that in just a moment. You have to toggle the fans. You press the fan and you can turn it up and down, or you can set it to auto. You have the different levels. You have windshield, front, and feet for the airflow. I have it on auto. You can turn the air conditioning on with that button. This car does have heated windows, so heated windshield, but it also has heated seats, and you can activate those and turn them up depending on the level, the 0 to 6, using these controls. We're in the summer, so of course we're going to turn these things off. And of course you have the recirculation button here as well. Next, below, is the drive system. You have Strada, Sport, and Corsa, and we'll demonstrate this a little bit. It's a progressive system, so Strada is very slow shifting, very comfortable shifting. Suspension's a little bit different, and again, this is a system, this is the mode in which you'll have the cylinder deactivation, the start-stop feature, truly designed for energy conservation. I never drive the Aventador, unfortunately, in the Strada mode, just because it doesn't feel as alive. It's really sluggish, and I personally don't like it. So I drive, I would say, 70% of the time in Sport and perhaps 30% of the time in Corsa. And you can change the mode by simply toggling back and forth.
Jack it up.
Let's walk down the rest of the system. You have the navigation system here, and when you pull it up, you'll notice that there are 4 corners. It says memory, route, map, and nav, and they correspond to each of these 4 corners, and depending on which menu you're in, those corners will change. So if you wanted to, say, put the route in, or if you want to look at the map, you would press the right lower corner and you'll see the map come up. If you wanted to look at the navigation information, again, you would click
Navigation is not active.
and there you go. Or if you want to look at memory, things that are in memory, last destination, storage, so on. So that's what how you navigate through these systems. If you then want to look, the next button down is just information. It's going to give you contextual information depending on the window that you're in. So let's take a look at the next one down, which is information about the car. So you have the parking system, and again, this is your navigation button. You can turn to move up and down. So let's go into the parking system. You push down to enter the menu, and the parking system displays on that, gives you the lines on the car when you're reversing, your backup camera. To go back, you can hit the return button. Windshield wipers. Again, you can adjust their position to on or the off position. The instrument cluster is next. And again, you can put in speed warnings. So let's go in and you can select speed warnings up to 150 miles per hour. And so once you cross that threshold, you'll get an alarm just telling you that you've crossed the speed limit threshold. If you go further down, you have the exterior lighting, and you have a coming home system. And what that is, the lights will stay on for a certain period of time after you've exited the car. So it's essentially pathway lighting. It lights the area around the car until you get home. You can turn it off. You can have the light stay on for up to 60 seconds. Next down is the leaving home feature, and again, it's pretty much the same thing, just in reverse. And of course, we have auto headlights. You can have them come on very early as the day progresses, or medium, or really late after it gets really dark. I have it on the medium settings, which I think is good. Central locking is next, and central locking, as you know, it relates to when the car locks or unlocks itself, or how it unlocks itself. So the unlock single door, that is, if I hit the button to unlock the car on the key, it will unlock just the driver's side door. If I hit it or press it again, it'll unlock the passenger door, so it limits the access to the car. There's also the auto locking feature, which I have on. So after about 5 miles an hour, after 5 to 10 miles an hour, the doors would automatically lock themselves. We have the auto folding mirror feature off. What that is when you hit the button on the key to lock the car, it will automatically fold the mirrors, the side mirrors in. And of course there's a confirmation tone. When you lock the car, you'll hear it chirp, a beep indicating that the car is now secured. So that's the features of the central locking system. And of course you have this can display the VIN number of the vehicle. So that's the car button. Next menu down is the setup feature. And in the setup feature, again, it is, you can set, you notice you have the 4 corners here. You have time, settings, Bluetooth, and display. And again, they correspond to each of these 4 buttons. So if we wanted to set the time, we're on car setup, you set the time, and you can set the time and date and the format in which you want it. You can then go back and set the display, and you can change, you can turn the display off, you can actually change the brightness of the display. Right now I have it on medium, but you can get the display much brighter than it is now, so we're going to keep it a bit on the medium setting. You have Bluetooth, and this is where you would set up your Bluetooth devices. You turn it on, you can set the car into the discovery mode, you can find certain devices. It's going to be looking to see what are the devices that are out there, and that's how you get them. It can show you the paired devices that are there, and again you can see there are a number of devices that are set up. You can give your Bluetooth a specific name. Right now it's called Aventador, and in fact, why don't we go ahead and change the name to something we want? And I'd say we change it to something we know. The car is called Avenger, so let's change it to Avenger. So unfortunately the system here is not touchscreen, as you can see, so we've got to spell things out the old-fashioned way, but that's okay. And so it's named Avenger. And then we'll go ahead and say OK, and that's the new name of the car. So the next menu you have is settings, and under settings you have language, where you can go ahead and select your language. You have the measurement units, and you can put it in miles, speed in miles per hour, temperature as well. You have voice recognition, and again under that you have short dialogue, signal inputs, individual training, and you can delete tags. And there's some default settings, and you can put some new passwords in. So that's really the settings under car. Then you have the radio. This system has a Sirius satellite lifetime. Then you have media, and in the media you can import, and again same 4 quadrants: import, source, sounds, and control. So after media you have name, and name is essentially a directory that will pull from your phone, or you can put directly into the system. And of course you have your telephone, and again when there are telephones that are connected via Bluetooth, you'll have a list of names here. So that's the multimedia system. Your volume is here, and that's kind of that part. So the panel on top here are 3 things. You have the lights for both the driver and passenger. You have a setting for the door lights where you can turn both on, and then you have your home link system here. There are 3 buttons for essentially up to 3 garage doors. The other thing to notice is your visor. Now the windshield here is pretty narrow, so the visors themselves are pretty small. So that's what you got. They have at least mirrors, but they're not lighted mirrors. You really don't need that. So that's it for the upper part and the center console of this cabin. Right below the Lamborghini emblem is a small glove box. It doesn't have a lot of storage, just enough for the manuals and maybe a small media device. The Aventador doesn't have an awful lot of storage space, but you have a small area here that has a cigarette lighter adapter, and it's perfect for storing your wallet. Here, at least they've given us 2 spaces, one behind the driver, one behind the passenger, to put a water bottle and small accessories, some small devices, perhaps your phone, so that you can store them, but not an awful lot of storage in this car. So why am I wearing gloves. Do I think I'm a race car driver? Absolutely not. That for sure I'm not. But the Anniversario's, this steering wheel has Alcantara. And Alcantara is a synthetic suede, much like the green inserts in this car, and as a result will easily pick up oils from your hands and become matted, and really is unsightly. And so you need to do what you can to protect the Alcantara on the steering wheel, and the way to do that is with driving gloves. So that is the reason why whenever you see me drive the Anniversario Roadster, you'll always see me with gloves on. Not because I'm a racing driver, but because this is in fact a special car, and we want to make sure that we take care of it as best we can. So as you know, we have a multifunction steering wheel with the paddle shifters, which are located here. Large stalks. The right hand side is for up, left hand side is for down. Pull them together and the car will go into neutral. You can see 3 buttons here, only one of them is in use. This button is to open and close the small window behind the compartment here. And that allows you to hear the glorious tone of that V12 motor just screaming behind you, even when the roof is on. So these are your headlights. You have auto, you have the parking lights, you have parking low beam, and 2 other options. This is for the interior clusters where you can turn the instrument clusters light up or down. Down below you have 2 pedals and a dead pedal here. You notice that the dead pedal is a little bit more centered, and Lamborghinis have always been sort of center biased. So your pedals, including the dead pedal, tends to be towards the center, and that's really to enhance the driving position of the car. And as you can see, it starts in Strada in auto mode, and I always take it into manual and move it into sport. And you can tell, let me do that again. This is Strada, listen to the exhaust. That's Strada, that's sport, and Corsa. And what that does is when you move into sport or Corsa, it actually opens the valves in the exhaust and you get a much deeper sound, is one of the modifications that happens. Now if you also look on the left side of the dial, you'll see benzina, which is your fuel. You see below the temp aqua, which is the water temperature. On the other side, you'll see the oil pressure, and the lower panel, you'll see the oil temperature. And those are critical. You have a multifunction screen on just to the right of that shows you that your headlights are on, both doors are open, and will show you if the bonnet or the engine bay is open as well. And you can see that A with a strike through it, that is your start-stop feature. There it is, it's disabled. Here it is enabled, where it's cylinder deactivation. Incidentally, when you do that, it alternates the cylinder, so it's not that it used the right bank or the left bank, because then the engine would become unbalanced. It actually selectively uses and crosses the cylinders that it uses to drive the car. Another important button here is on the edge of this stalk, and you will see that when I push the top portion of it and hold it, it changes the center display from RPM now to speed, and the tachometer becomes digital. We can move that back, where again the center screen now is the tachometer, the speed is smaller. You can also, by pushing on the bottom, change quickly between miles per hour to kilometers per hour, and you can see that changes there a little bit, and you can in fact get both of them. We're going to leave it on both for just a moment. I'm going to rev the car a little bit so you can hear what it sounds like. So again, pull both forward paddles forward, and you're in the neutral position. And with that, we're going to give it